New year, new contributors. Which 2024 freshman will earn a role for the Florida Gators in 2025?
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Thursday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. And we're going to talk about some Florida Gators that were part of the 2024 high school recruiting class. Jameer Grimsley could count. We're not going to talk about him today, but he counts. I will also say we are excluding players that were significant contributors in 2024 already. So since this is about new contributors, that means that we're not talking about DJ Lagway. We're not talking about Jaden Ball. I will also say that I personally think that a lot of 2024 kids are going to step up into significantly larger roles in 2025 and perform pretty well at it. I love that recruiting class. We will talk about them, okay? For now, this is just some of them, and I'd love to hear any 2024 kids that you think will play significant roles in 2025. If you want to put it in the comment, if you're part of the Subtext program, the Insider program, the link's in the description below if you're not part of it. But when we talk about guys that I think are going to be significant contributors, I have to start with what is one of my favorite positions in football. It is a position that I played for a while. And we're talking about Gregory Smith III at safety. He's not a sleeper. I think at this point now, a lot of people like him. And I don't think it's about being like, well, I liked him when he was coming out of high school. And I don't care about any of that. I was just massively impressed with the limited snaps we saw from him this year. That Florida State game that he played was fantastic. He ended up playing significant snaps because of Jordan Castell getting hurt. And then we got to see Gregory Smith play significant snaps, starter snaps. And man, he looked good. We did a single game scouting report for the Insider program about Gregory Smith against Florida State. And I got to say, I was just incredibly impressed with his talent. And it was clear during the spring game. You go back to the spring game and we talked about him. And a big part of what we talked about after the spring game was he's got all the athletic traits. We knew that coming out of high school. He's got all the athletic traits. He's completely inexperienced at safety. But he moved with the confidence and aggression that guys play with after a couple of years of playing the position, after a few years of playing the position. Just see ball, get ball, see man, get man, whatever it was. He moved with just such intent that it was really impressive. And that was the thing for me that completely sold me on him. That just saying, hey, like I was a fan of his coming out of high school, but looking at what he did in the spring game and how he moved in the spring game, that was incredible. So I will say that very fluid as an athlete in coverage, just needs to learn more. Okay, that's it. He just needs to learn more, but he's incredibly fluid as an athlete. His back pedal, super smooth. Hell of a football player, right? Hell of a football player. And you've got snaps cleared up at safety, right? You do. Sure, you've got Hilton Stubbs coming in. Sure, you've got Lagonza Hayward coming in. Sure, you've got Jordan Castell coming back. Sure, you got Bryce Thornton coming back. But you lost... Well, I mean, Asa Turner played like 12 snaps, so we're not going to count Asa Turner. But he lost Triquaze Bridges, and he played a lot of snaps at safety before he moved to corner full-time. You've got a lot of snaps cleared up there. Gregory Smith III should help fill those in. And there was one thing that I keep coming back to with the Florida State game with Gregory Smith, and it was he got beat bad on a chair route. So up, out, up. He got beat bad on it against Florida State. They didn't throw to the receiver, but he got beat bad on it. And later on in the game, they went back to it. Like they went back to the chair route when they knew that they had Greg Smith matched up. And he blanketed it. Like, he was all over it. Wasn't even a little bit of doubt that if they threw it, it was covered. I'm not going to say he was going to pick it, but if they threw it, it was covered completely. And so I think that when you look at a player that can real time, in game, say, you beat me on this, I'm going to be all over it. While it's also a similar looking route. So the first time, again, guy runs up, out, and up. And the first time they ran it against him, he played the out completely. That's what he was looking for. He was looking for the out, played it completely, and got torched. Again, they didn't throw it, but he got torched. Second time, plays the up. Like, he played the chair out the whole time. And it's that kind of awareness to go, yeah, it looks like an out route, but they ran this against me earlier and beat me on it. And so I'm going to recover from that. I'm going to learn from that. That's the impressive kind of stuff that I don't think is normal, I'll say. And so when you see someone like Gregory Smith III, who's barely played safety, who's barely played defense, and you see him learning in real time, adapting in real time, and properly developing in real time, to me, that's just someone that I look at and I say, okay, you're going to be a really good football player. And it's as simple as that. I think that Gregory Smith III has great versatility to play either safety spot. And again, he's not a finished product at all. What I'm saying is he has the traits and the tools that you can't teach. And so when you teach him things, that's a recipe for just having an absolute beast in the secondary. And also, we talk about the size and the speed with him. It's everything. He's got the size, the speed, the length, the agility. He's got, I mean, his back pedal smooth as hell for a guy that has not played the position for a long time. That just tells me that I know that there's quite a few Florida Gators fans that have kind of soured on Jordan Castell, but that tells me that with Gregory Smith III, there are 3 safeties that I think are starter quality in the SEC. I think Jordan Castell might be on the lower spectrum of them. I think that Bryce Thornton has some physical limitations that might keep him out of being a true elite safety. But when we're talking about just your skill set and what you bring to the table, you got 3 starter quality SEC safeties in this Florida Gators defensive backfield. And that is a luxury that the Gators have not had in a very, very long time. We are going to stick with the defensive side for the next segment when we get back with Locked On Gators. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I mean, you could bet on, I don't know, Arizona State and Texas going overtime. You can bet on, I personally, I had Texas minus 3.5 in the first quarter, and they covered that kind of handedly. And I had Ohio State minus 1.5 in the first quarter, and boy, did they cover that one, or did they cover that one? Because yikes. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said, we're sticking on the defensive side of the ball for just this segment. We'll get to the offense to wrap up. But sticking on the defensive side of the ball, Gregory Smith III, who we talked about last segment, is someone that I said, he's got the physical tools. He's got all the raw traits. And that's a very Billy Napier coaching staff thing. We've seen them do that at basically every single position. They say, we're going to take these pretty raw athletes that have the size, the weight, the length, the verified speed. That's a big thing as well. And that they've got the raw traits that you cannot teach. And even if they're judged as questionable takes, even if they're doubted, whatever it may be, we're going to take those guys and we're going to recruit them and we're going to bring them in and we're going to develop them. And that's the Gregory Smith approach. You've seen Florida do that with the offensive line that we talk about all the time, where you say, hey, you're not bringing in enough top talent. It's only developmental pieces. But they did that at one position where, I think they got a dude, and it's LJ McCray. I think that you look at LJ McCray, and he can practically tie his damn shoes without kneeling over at all. It's crazy. His arms are insanely long. He's a big dude, broad shouldered. Like, his wingspan is going to be ridiculous when he goes to the NFL Combine, whenever that's going to be. But I think that a year of development is going to do absolute wonders for LJ McCray. He didn't play that much in 2024. And I think a lot of people expected him to, but he didn't. And you go back to the spring, and we did a single game scouting report of the spring game for LJ McCray. And my main thing with him was, I think he's got all the physical tools, all the physical traits, but he's not refined at all. He has no pass rush repertoire. And I thought his play strength when he got to the college level was pretty lackluster. You look at LJ McCray in high school, and play strength is not an issue. You know, he's going to war with these people in the trenches, and he's winning oftentimes. But you get to the spring game, and he immediately had a lot of issues with play strength. And it was something that carried throughout the entire season, really. He got better as he had more time in the strength conditioning program, but the strength concerns were there for me after the spring game, and they stayed there for me throughout the season. Again, less concerned, but now that he's got a full year and a half, we'll say, by the time you get to the actual regular season in 2025, you got that full year and a half, he's going to be a monster, I think. I think that the year and a half of the strength and conditioning program is going to work wonders for him, and I know you could disagree with me all you want, but you go back and you watch the spring game and you watch games during the season. And I have in the report against Brandon Crenshaw Dixon in the spring game, he got pushed back like 8 yards. He was getting moved completely. And that happened during the season. Okay. And that's fine to admit. That's fine. But I think that you say, hey, you've got the year and a half in the strength and conditioning program to develop that strength. Great. Develop that power. Great. You've got the attitude. You got the mentality. The IQ's there. It's just a matter of actually putting it all together. So we talk about that coming together. And then also not having a pass rush repertoire is something that you see with every high school player at this point. There's so many high school players that don't have the skill set at all as pass rushers, that they can just go in there and win with sheer athleticism. That happens all the time. And that's where the top guys differ. And for LJ McCray, we've seen the videos of him working to develop a pass rush. He's posted them. He's working with personal pass rush trainers. He's doing all that to develop that pass rush. We've seen it. So I think it's coming. But when you look at the spring game, he had no pass rush repertoire whatsoever. And then you look at the season, and he started to develop a little bit, but it's not just, oh, I know how to bull rush. Oh, I know how to long arm. Oh, I know how to swim, rip, club, whatever it is. It's not just knowing how to do it. It's knowing how to do it without selling that you're going to do it, and then how to execute it properly, consistently. And I think that LJ McCray, with, again, a year and a half of college development, I think he's got all the tools to be just a monster there. I've not been shy about my thoughts on the edge room for Florida. Before Jack Pyburn left, I was saying, hey, you should go into the portal, get a proven guy. Before TJ Searcy left, I was saying, hey, you should go into the portal, get a proven guy. All that, yeah. But I think that LJ McCray has this skill set and we'll say the physical traits, and by that I mean, the height, the length, the weight. He's got all those parts to play and contribute at both edge spots. I think that, if Tyreek Sapp comes back, you got Tyreek Sapp and George Gumbs there, then the odds of them of being the starters, pretty high. And then I think LJ is someone that could contribute at both spots. Maybe you want to say, hey, Tyreek Sapp, you're the first man off. We're going to have LJ and Gums. And then you go, all right, Gums, you're done. We're going to bring in Tyreek Sapp, and then we're going to have LJ and Sapp. Then when starters combine, you got starters again. So I think you could see a rotation like that where LJ can play both of those spots and you're not missing much of a beat, right? And let's call a spade a spade. And this is not just Jack Pyburn. This is also TJ Searcy. You had a lot of one-dimensional players on your edge rotation this year. Like when you talk about those two specifically, they're your run stuffers. And we've seen that. That's not an uncommon thing. That's fine in football. But I do think that if you have a guy that can contribute both as a run stopper and as a pass rusher, then I think we're having a different conversation about how good they really are. And LJ, the ability to play both spots. LJ, the ability to defend the run and rush the passer. And LJ, the physical traits of an NFL premier edge rusher. Just got to get the strength and the pass rush repertoire there. And I don't know why I said there. It's like saying there and down, and I just mashed them together. But I'm going to be honest with you. But you get that all together, and you're looking at a guy that has legitimate, 10-sack potential, legitimate first-round pick potential in the NFL draft. And so I think if you can put that all together, you're kind of cooking. And I think LJ McCray is in line to be a big developmental piece for the Florida Gators next year. We're flipping to the offensive side, and we're sticking with developmental pieces to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators when we get back. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games, it's an incredible experience, right? You bring fans together like never before. And I remember the excitement of past playoff games, right? And then we had some absolute bangers yesterday. Could have another one today, but bangers yesterday, right? And I can't wait to make new memories, and the updated format and extra team involved home games now for playoff games is awesome. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. So if there's a playoff game in your area and your team makes it, if you're not a Florida Gators fan, or if you have a secondary team and they make it, you can go to Game Time. I've told you, I use Game Time exclusively. I went to the Knicks game last Saturday night. Knicks at Washington Wizards. I was in D.C. Went to it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And like I said for the last segment today, what we're wrapping up with is we're looking at the offensive side of the ball. We're not talking about any of the many talented receivers that the Florida Gators brought in the 2024 high school recruiting class. We're obviously not talking about any of the running backs, right? Because Jaden Ball played. Katie Daniels dealt with injury for a bit. Came back. But no, we're talking about Amir Jackson. We're looking at the tight end spot. And Amir Jackson is someone that a lot of people were big fans of, myself included, coming out of high school. He came out of Portal, Georgia in high school. And I know that there were a lot of people that said, hey, he's going to contribute as a freshman right away. No, this is a thing that we talked about all offseason. If you were here all offseason last year and people kept talking about Amir Jackson, if you were here and you were listening, you would hear me say, no, freshmen are not going to contribute at tight end in this offense. Here's the thing. Amir Jackson, no longer a true freshman, which means we've run out the clock. Amir Jackson can become a contributor for the Florida Gators in 2025. He can do that. Like we've said, it's the figure it out position. Hayden Hansen has said that 1,000 times on this show. It's the figure it out position. You need a year to learn your assignments. Amir Jackson's been here a year now. Should know the assignments. That means he's ready to play tight end in this offense. And there are snaps available, right? I think that Florida wants to rotate at tight end more than they've rotated. I do. I just don't think that they've had the personnel to do so. You had injuries at tight end one year, and then you had just guys not pan out the way you expected them to. Tony Livingston was supposed to be part of the 2022 class, ended up joining 2023. Andrew Savaianai was supposed to be a tight end from the 2022 class, transferred out after 2023. Jonathan Odom kept getting banged up. Dante Sanders wasn't good. Everything just happened where tight end personnel-wise, it didn't work out, right? You had Hayden popped off, and Arliss had potential and a skill set as a pass catcher. but never came close to really popping off there. And those snaps are available. Welcomed, by the way. So I think Florida wants to rotate more at tight end than they have been. And I think one way you could do it is similar to the edge spot where I say, hey, you got someone that can play both? Not Amir, but Tony Livingston could play both tight end spots. So I think that when you do see 12 personnel, you'll see Hayden and Tony Livingston, and then maybe you'll see Hayden and Amir, and then you'll see Tony and Amir, and you'll see that kind of rotation there. And so that's one way about it that you could look at. And also, we were told, here's the thing also, because I need to say this. We have been told basically every year now that, this offense is going to spread out. This offense is going to open up. This offense is going to do that. This offense is going to do this. And it pretty much never has taken those next steps. We've been told, they're hiring an OC. They're doing it. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, I will say that. I think that right now there's a better chance than ever that Florida is actually going to hire an OC, but I will believe it when I see it. I think that's a fair line to draw. But also, I will say that if we're going to see more of a spread out offense next year, however you want to say it, if you're going to see that, Amir Jackson's a fantastic fit for that, right? I think that Hayden, Tony, and Amir could all do it. I'm not going to lie. I think that they all have that skill set. I think Hayden gets not as much credit as he gets just for being fast. I've said before on the show and to him, he's not super agile, right? He's not shaking a ton of people and making them all miss like that. But straight line speed, he's there. Making a play on the ball, he's there. Amir Jackson, going to be more agile, going to be more of a mismatch nightmare with linebackers and with safeties. He played receiver in high school. This is the thing that we talked about. This was the main reason that I was like, hey, I really don't think he's going to be ready to play tight end. He needs to learn the offense, and he played receiver in high school. Look at the film. He's running reverses. He's catching screens. He's doing receiver things. He's not playing tight end. And as great as a flex tight end you may be, you need to know that you can block. You need to be able to block and hold those blocks in the SEC. And so Amir, now with a year and a half in strength and conditioning program, now with learning the tight end role in the offense and having his already determined skill set, now you're talking about a guy with insane potential. Okay? I know people would look at Arliss and they say, Arliss is going to be, the Kyle Pitts guy, which was asinine to begin with. If you ever said it, that's just crazy. Arliss is more of the Travis Kelce build, right? And Amir Jackson, that's more of the Kyle Pitts style. We'll see if the offense can actually use him like that, if his coaching staff can actually use him like that. But that's the kind of tight end that you have there. And so now there's a role in that offense. It's more spread out. Now we're talking about legit development and legit contributor potential. And that's what I'm looking forward to with Amir Jackson. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more Florida Gators football. We'll be back Saturday after the Florida Gators hopefully beat the Kentucky Wildcats. Games at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back after that as well. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I will see you all next time.